This power lesson is for you if you have found yourself struggling over the years with weight and weight loss and keeping the weight off. It is, and you'll kind of notice as you get to know me more that there was like that little laughter release. Like, it is one of the ways that is important for me to release, like when energy gets built up and pent up, because it's really not funny, but there is such a need for all of that emotion, like so much emotion. Like, I remember when I was probably 12 or 13 years old and I was very overweight and I was very self-conscious about it and I hated it. And I felt so confused and so unlovable and so uncomfortable always in my body. And I remember it was time to go get my first bra. And so my mom took me down to, I think we were at Nordstrom's or something like that downtown. And the lady, like in the middle of the whatever place where people are walking around and there's clothes, she came out with her like measuring tape and she was like, okay, lift up your arms from side to side. And then she put her hands like around my body to measure my bust to see what size bra I needed. Now, as an adult and having gone through that experience many times, like it doesn't bother me anymore, but I was absolutely mortified that in public there was a woman not only touching my body, but like measuring my body. It was like the worst thing I could possibly imagine in my life. And I remember I just got so upset and I just burst out into tears and I ran away. Not everyone is that emotional about their body, but if you are, I get it. Like, I completely 100% get that. Like, it doesn't feel funny. It doesn't feel awesome. Like, it feels so heavy. And I'm here to help all of us really understand, because I have gone through such an incredible lifting of the weight. And I thought that it was just the weight on my body. I thought that if I could just do the right diet or like cut it off or diet it off or starve myself it off, whatever, that like, then I would feel better on the inside. And that is true a little bit, because when, you start to lose weight, you start to feel a little bit better, but it was that it wasn't sustainable. It wasn't sustainable long enough to keep the weight off. And what I learned is that I was carrying the weight on more than just my body. I was carrying the weight on 3 other places. And why I have this in the background here, meditation equals weight loss, is this is one of the tools and strategies that I use still to this day. Of course I do, like on a daily basis, on a regular basis. Meditation has become a non-negotiable in my life. And there are 3 ways in which I was holding on to weight that meditation helps with, not just physically, because of course it's going to help physically, because we know that when we are carrying stress, when we're stressed out, that those stress hormones hold on to weight and they store the weight. So it's not just the physical, but I realized that I was carrying weight in my mind. There was a heaviness in my thinking that every time I went to the scale and every time I put on clothes and every time I went to go eat a meal or not eat a meal, and is it healthy? Is it not? Am I being a good girl? Am I being a bad girl? Like, is this going to make me gain weight? Do I need to exercise tomorrow? Like, that kind of chatter, and what I've realized is craziness. And I didn't realize it at first. I didn't know. It was just the way that I always thought, right? Like, that kind of thinking had been with me for so long that when I finally had some peace from it, some freedom from it, like I had 5 minutes of my life where like that wasn't going on. It felt like a miracle. It felt like, is this really possible? Now I will tell you that it's not like, oh, it's gone and it never comes back. I never have another thought like that. That's not accurate, right? Like, we are all still human. Our brain holds on to memories of thoughts, and there's the habits and the patterns. And of course there's all of that. And there is also ways around that when it comes up. Like, I'm not a victim to it anymore. And meditation has been a huge key in helping me take back control of my own mind, to lift the weight from my thinking when I notice that it's getting heavy again. And sometimes I don't notice until it's like I'm knocked over. You know what I mean? I go, oh man, it's heavy again. What happened? What happened? And now, of course, I have tools and strategies to help me with that. So I don't have to stay down for as long as I was previously, which was like years, decades before I really understood this. So meditation helps with our thinking because it really forces us to sit with the thoughts. And if you don't get up to check your phone or make that appointment or eat the thing or get the coffee or go for the walk or like whatever your head's telling you that you need to do, that moment where you notice that your body is screaming at you to get up and your head's doing what it's doing and it's tripping around, spazzing out about whatever it's thinking about, and you want to get up, even though you've committed to that 5 minutes, that moment where you calm yourself back down, you realize that there's a split, there's a separation between the part of you that is like, it's okay, we can sit here for a couple more minutes. Thank you, thoughts, for doing whatever it is that you're doing and for body freaking out the way that you're freaking out. That moment where you realize that you are not your thoughts, you are not your feelings, that they are transient and they pass. That is the moment that you actually take back control and the weight begins to be lifted from the mind. We're no longer in that like a dysfunctional kind of relationship where you don't really know where you end and the other person starts, and you begin to become more clear. Now, a lot of people go, oh, well, meditation's not for me, or I can't really do it, or I prefer walking meditation, or, whatever that stuff is. Those are all different kinds of meditation are wonderful, but I'm talking about actually sitting your body down without distractions and allowing the thoughts to come up and taking back your power and taking back your control. And every time you do that, there's a little piece of it that gets lifted, and a little piece and a little piece. And you might not notice right away. Same as weight loss, right? Like you don't notice losing an ounce. No, you don't. You don't really notice losing 2 ounces. Although if you were to actually take a chunk of fat, 2 ounces of a chunk of fat, like you'd be glad that it's gone, but you're not going to notice until it reaches a certain point. It's the same with the thoughts as they begin to lighten and you begin to separate yourself from the meaning of them and that and the identifying with them. And so they begin to soften and they begin to go, and that helps with meditation helps with that. The second place that I found that I was holding weight was on my shoulders. It was like the weight of the world on my shoulders, that I had to be this kind of a person. I had to be this kind of a girl, this kind of a daughter, this kind of an employee. Obviously those things are good, right? Like we want to be and present ourselves in the world the way that is ideal for us. Like, what are our values? And I was taking care of a lot of other people's feelings and life and situations that I had no business doing that. And it was a distraction from my own self. So the thing about meditation, when I actually started to set the timer and sit my butt down and be with my thoughts, it is my time. My time. Nobody else can do it for you. Nobody else could do it for me. I can't meditate for somebody else and nobody else can meditate for me. It is like that act of self-care, that act of self-love, and that connection with spirit and who we truly are as we let those thoughts and those feelings come and pass. And we just continue to sit in the beautiful silence. It is nerve-wracking and insanity-making until that point where like all of the drama pops and it leaves you and you actually have a sense of peace. I remember, I think it was my brother telling me, like when he first started making some changes in his life, that for the first, it was like you do all this work and all this work and all this work. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you finally get that breaking point where you notice all the benefit of all the work that you've been doing. And for him, it was when he was driving down the street and he noticed that there was no music on, that his head wasn't messing with him, the window was down, and he heard a bird chirping, and he just looked over to the tree and was just listening to the sound of the bird, and there was nothing else. That didn't happen because he was trying to force it happening while he was sitting in his car, or somebody told him that he needed to do that and turn off the music and listen for the birds, right? It was the practice before the game that gave him that peace of mind and that freedom. And that is exactly what I found as well. Like I I don't have the power to walk into a party and say no to the cookies and feel really good about it if I haven't been doing my practice ahead of time. If I'm not right in my body and in my head, and I'm carrying all the weight of this negative thinking when I look in the mirror and when I put on clothes, I'm carrying the weight of the world, of everybody else's stuff, and I'm not taking care of myself, I have no power to say no to those cookies. And even if I did, I guarantee on my way home, I'd be stopping at the store and getting some and just going, I need to relax. Oh, God bless us, and we're not crazy. It freaking works. You know what I mean? It's like the cookies do relax because it changes our state. It changes that buildup of tension. We get that release. That's what meditation does. We get to practice what it's like to build up that tension because it can be so uncomfortable, and to stay in the butt in the seat and let it go, let it release. And every time we practice that, it is such incredible self-care. And again, it releases the weight from the shoulders because we are now there for ourselves, and we don't have to expect or have any expectations on other people to do it for us. The third place that I realized that I was really carrying weight was in my heart. The past hurts and disappointments and frustrations and embarrassing moments and things that I missed out on and didn't do or did too much of, or I was too much of this or not enough of that or whatever. This person hurt me and did this because, quite frankly, people are often wrong and hurtful. I've been the one to be wrong and hurtful, and I've certainly had it done to me, and it has not been awesome or nice. And the only person that gets hurt from me holding on to that pain is myself. And again, I can't think myself out of it. I can't go, oh yeah, well, I should be a good person and forgive. Like, those are nice thoughts. But what happens in meditation is we get an opportunity to actually soften that space around the heart. Because if we're actually going to sit and release the mind stuff and release the soul, the shoulder, the weight from the shoulders, and we're left with the old feelings of the past, we get an opportunity to feel it. Like, this is one of the things that people were saying when they said, sit with your feelings, like allow your feelings to be present, be with them, name them if you need to, have a conversation with them if you need to, be with your feelings and your emotions. And I thought that those people were nuts. Like, there was no way that I could do that. And what I realized is, if I am attaching the feeling to a story and then I'm replaying that story in my mind, that thinking that goes, then the feeling begins to get twisted and my brain begins to remember every single time I felt that way and all the times that I've been hurt and disrespected and frustrated and all of that kind of stuff. And what happens in meditation, if you continue to practice it and you don't get up right away, right? What happens again, you separate the thinking, the chatter from your actual self. And I would let myself actually feel the feelings in the body, like the tingling and the upset and the swirly and the kind of prickly and however that it was actually feeling in my body. And that's me, what they call like reparenting ourselves, right? There's lots of different phrases and ways that people, kind of talk about what that means to actually be the adult with my little girl. Because again, the heaviness on the heart's not because of fear of the future, right? Heaviness on the heart is because of the frustrations and the sadness and the disappointment from the past, the hurt from the past. So when I actually take the time on a regular basis now, non-negotiable, meaning it doesn't matter how I feel or how much time I think I have or don't have, right? Like, we always have at least 30 seconds, even if you have to do it in the bathroom. I've done that, put a couple of little toilet seat covers, even in a public bathroom, and just like kneel down and just have a few breaths, like a little bit of meditation. So every time that we take that time to reparent ourselves. And as I do that, it's like me as myself now being willing to presence the old feelings from the past that I've been holding on to since I was a little girl that I've been so afraid of. And ever since that first feeling happened, it was like, run, 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 run from that, run, 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 run. That's too scary. That's too uncomfortable. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to see it. And in meditation, we get that opportunity in a safe place, in our own space, in our own place, in our own room with our own self to presence that. And little by little, it begins to soften, right? Just like that little kid that's throwing a tantrum that just needs your attention, same thing. And meditation is an opportunity to give ourselves that attention, that love, that presence right here, right now. Not say you're too much, or you're too screwed up, or you're too loud, or you're too whatever the things that we were told when we were younger. We get to unravel that and undo that and create a new story. I hope that you got a lot out of this message. I was feeling very inspired as I was thinking about how important meditation is, and what a loving thing to share that with other people. I thought it was kind of hoogie woogie for a long time, and then I tried to do it, and I almost, wanted to rip my brain, my head off of my body because it was just too much chatter and too painful. And I thought that I was doing it wrong. And in fact, I was doing it right. So if that's what's going on and it's craziness, then you're doing it right. Stay there. You're totally worth it. All right, ladies, I love you so much, and we'll talk soon.